Greetings, I'm Naila Chaudhary, Chief Executive Officer, Lotus Credit and Pillars for Dignity. I'm also the Director of Global Partnership for FSUN. We are co-hosting today's program with two amazing inspirational leaders, Janet Salazar, who's the permanent representative of United Nations and President Foundation for the Support of the United Nations. With us, we also have Emmanuel C. Perlman, who's the founder and CEO of Destination Peace, and he is also a global peace builder. Today's panel is Voices of the Unsung Heroes Rising Above the Stigma, is a deep tribute to those who mustered their will to survive amidst the depth of their sufferings, to those heroes who rose above the muck like a lotus, who turned mental, physical, life-threatening situations into resilience, strength, courage to rise up and radiate into the world. The strongest message that will sustain our sisters, our daughters in peril, is that we hear you, we are listening to you. Help is on its way. We need to draw assurance, motivation, inspiration, support, empathy, and caring for each other. Pillars for Dignity and Lotus Credit has partnered with FSUN and Destination Peace to support, empower the underrepresented women and girls who face social and economic challenges by building pillars and pathways to training in survival skills, life skills, empowerment, and improved health and wellness. We strive to help these women reach their full potential and let their light shine by reclaiming and restoring their dignity and self-esteem. The shadow pandemic is a term you must have heard lately of domestic violence against women and girls has been growing within homes around the world in the wake of COVID-19. Even before the pandemic, violence against women and girls, a gross human rights violation, impacted 1 in 3 women worldwide. UN Women has partnered with tech gurus like Google, Facebook, Amazon, Twitter to get the worldwide support to create awareness and address the shadow pandemic. We rise by lifting others. As responsible citizens, stopping gender-based violence starts with me and you. Today's heroes will be sharing their life stories without reservations, where some have faced near-death experiences and others have had near-death experiences through domestic violence. Let me give you a brief background of the first speaker, Ambika B. Sanjana. Ambika's natural flair for fashion and great creativity has over time become her greatest strength. Passion and her diverse profession coming from a highly creative cultural family background. Based in Mumbai, Bombay, Miami, and Los Angeles, Ambika's inspiration is drawn from these vibrant cities and rich cultures. With this wide range of experience and tremendous success, over the past decade, Ambika has become a highly sought-out celebrity stylist in Los Angeles, California. Her work has been featured in numerous international published magazines, editorials, styling for clients at red carpet events, designing custom wardrobe for countless celebrities. Ambika is a change maker who stands up for human rights, justice, and women's rights. Ambika, we welcome you to our program. We are so touched that you're sharing your story and coming out with your story for the first time. Know that as you tell your story, we hear you, we are with you, no matter what, we are listening to you, anything, whatever way you want to express yourself, we are with you. So I'll move on to the first question. Know that, Ambika, you're my hero. From the moment I know your story, I've been with you. Please share with us your journey, your darkest moment in your life, and how it has reshaped your present life, future, and how and who you are today. How has it shaped you up? So take your time.
Well, Thank you, first of all, for having me as part of this panel. I think that it's so important for women to share their experiences. And actually, that's like a newfound realization for me. You know, for a long time, I was kept it a secret. I was ashamed. I didn't really talk about this. Just my nearest, like my family, my parents, and my brother, maybe a couple of friends knew what happened to me, but I was so embarrassed and like scared to talk about it. So today is actually the first time I'm ever really talking to people other than my family about it and sharing my story. And the reason for it is because I really believe that if I'm able to share my story, maybe if it helps one woman, then I feel like my job is done. You know what I mean? Like I really truly believe that. One of the I was in a relationship for 8 years with somebody I loved very dearly. Uh, he wasn't from my culture. He was from a different culture. You know, I fought for the love. I said, this is the person I want to be with. And I sacrificed a lot to be in that relationship. And I grew up in India, and, you know, with the cultural background that I have, there's a, there's a lot of expectations, societal expectations and customs and traditions. And the fact that the choices that I made was like very bold, or, you know what I mean? Like I was breaking the norm. uh, I was in a relationship with this person for 8 years, and he had two children, which I helped raise. And you know, when you start out and you're in love, you think there's everything's perfect. You know, you love the person, you'll fight to the end of the world to be with them. You're together and you're a team. That was my family, you know. And it starts out with a small instance where he grabs your hand, and then it escalates, you know, and then you say, oh no, it's not a big deal, he was just mad. And then the next time it's worse and worse and worse. And I had no idea that he had such a bad temper, or this would be something that would actually change my entire life and me as a person. But it continued, and it got worse and worse for 8 years. And what's so embarrassing to say is that I was stuck, you know, and I stayed in it and I went back every time. But I would say my darkest moment in my life was when, and that's the breaking point, when I absolutely knew. There's several moments where I should have walked away. You know, I had concussions. I had went to work with like bruises all over my body. Like police came, and it was just really, really many instances that I should have known for sure, being an educated woman, that this is it. Like I shouldn't be accepting this. But the final and the most darkest moment for me was when we were driving in the car and discussing the future, or it was a while after one of our many breakups and getting back together. And he got mad at me and he started like getting violent. And I was like, please let me out, please let me out. And I tried to open the door, and he actually threw me out of the moving vehicle. And that's when I had a miscarriage. And I was 4 months pregnant with twins, and I lost them. I split my head open on the ground, and I don't know, at that moment when I was standing there with like blood all over me, and I just realized that there's no love is not that, you know what I mean? And no matter how much you love somebody, you can never forgive them for doing that to you. Somebody who loves you doesn't do that to you. That was probably the darkest moment in my life, getting through it. Um, it took a lot of strength and courage to walk away from that. And it definitely took a lot of healing to get over the miscarriage, to get over the actual physical things that happened to me from falling out of the moving vehicle. But that was when I put my foot down and I just said, enough is enough, you know? And the fact that I was even thinking about forgiving him after, or wanting him to still say sorry, you know what I mean? Like have closure, I knew that I needed help. So I think that changed my entire life. You know, I started seeking help. I've been on a healing journey for 3 years, spiritual, seeking therapy, talking to other women. And I really wish that I had said something. You know, he got married 4 months after we broke up, that moment. And I wanted to reach out and tell the woman, hey, be careful. You have a young daughter, just be careful. And I never did. And this is part of the reason I'm talking about it today, because if I had, he did the same thing to her and her daughter. So I always regret that I never said something. And this is why I'm sharing my story today, because maybe if I help or touch one woman and give her the strength to walk away and to know that she's worth more than tolerating that, then I feel like I've done something good.
Wow. Ambika, know that you're in the right path now at the right moment. You're doing such tremendous work and you motivate so many. And I'm sure today, when the listeners hear, you'll inspire many too. And how would you actually make a difference by being heard? Do you feel already like the more, remember we had a discussion, the more you talk, you you do realize that there's so many women who haven't come out, right? The minute you open up, they come forward that, oh my God, I've had this experience too. There's so many people waiting to come out of this. So you
I
being
think
an
there's just like a
icon in LA.
stigma, you know, I think there's a stigma, like what would people say, or how could I say something like this? Or there's so many things that we're scared of, you know, or people judging you, or we work in the same entertainment industry, you know, and he threatened to blacklist me, and he's like, I'm gonna make sure you never work again, or I know, threatened me so much, or threatened to, you know, I don't know, just do horrible things. And I was just scared, you know, I was scared of what he would do. And he said he would kill my father and brother. And, you know, just like with those threats, you just keep quiet, you don't say anything. And I wish I wasn't scared, because maybe he would never do that to anyone else. So he should have gotten arrested. You know what I mean? That was manslaughter. Like he should have been punished for that. So he doesn't do it to other people. But I think part of the healing process is talking about it. And I've changed my mentality from, instead of thinking that I'm a victim, to think that I'm a survivor. You know, I got through it and I'm stronger. And I used all of that pain and fueled it into my work and my career. And it's blossomed so beautifully, you know, and I feel so much better about myself now.
Ambika, you're one of the voices where the world is waiting to hear you and learn from you. And many women, every time we bring a story like this, many women wait for this moment to share this story with us as well. And know that you are in a position right now to be an ambassador for the voice and to bring in hundreds of women under this who would wait and need the help to get out. So hopefully we'll continue this. And do you have anything else in this line you would like to talk, that when you spoke about it, remember you were saying that the first you shared was with whom? Remember that story?
Yeah. So I was shooting with a celebrity. We were having a meeting about work, and then I don't know, just later on, just it was just her and me alone together. And we happened to mention something. I don't know how the topic came out, but we happened to share that we had both been in a similar situation, in a domestic violence situation for a long time. We started sharing stories, and it was so crazy because she lived in India and she's like a Bollywood actress, and I live in America and I'm a stylist. But how there was so much parallels between our stories. And even though we lived in different worlds, the actual cycle of abuse is kind of the same, you know? And being able to actually speak to somebody and share that and hear it, it just made me feel like a little more normal, you know, that it wasn't like this, that I was alone in this world who went through something like that. And knowing that other women go through it and sharing and talking about it, like it really, really helped me, you know? And so I feel like it's given me a lot more confidence to speak about it. I'm not ashamed anymore. Um, I'm very vocal. I want to be vocal and I want to help other women, you know? And I feel like if I'm able to use my experience and prevent this from happening to any other women or all other women, that would honestly make me like really happy, you know?
Wow. Thank you, Ambika.
Yes.
Honestly, like I hear you more than anything, because I've been in a similar situation where I kept quiet, but I realized the strength of it when you come out, that when we forget that it's not that it's only people who are underserved, but people who are doing well, who cannot even, for the reason of the social situation and the social platform, cannot open their mouth. But the minute you come out, hundreds of your friends are also being in this situation. But I'm so grateful that you're sharing your story with us today.
Thank you.
So I would move to saying that if you have a bucket list now that you're in a different path, to get done or accomplish which you feel in your lifetime, what would be the main three? And would you kindly share with us?
I think definitely on top of that bucket list would be, um, if I could be an ambassador to normalize talking about it, you know, normalize talking about domestic violence. There's so much stigma, especially in families, especially in different cultures, like in the Middle East and India, in a lot of Asian cultures. It's almost like accepted, you know, when it happens, your parents tell you, oh, don't say anything, you know, just accept it. Like, I think that if we normalize it, talking about it, and our families actually support us instead of turning a blind eye to it. I think that it would give women a much safer place, you know, in the world. So I definitely would love to start conversations about educating families more than women, just educating families about it's okay if it happens, you know what I mean? And then you're supposed to be there for the person who goes through it, as opposed to like disowning them or shunning them or shutting them up, you know? I think education too is like really important. Education about financial freedom. I feel like a lot of women are stuck in the situation mostly because financially they're tied and they don't have a way or a means or even an idea as to how they would start alone. So I think I would love to educate women about financial freedom and how important it is to always have money put away or always have a safety or a backup plan. God forbid anything were to happen to you, you know? And I know it's kind of like a really huge dream, but you know how we have like the police or the FBI or the CIA or like these global organizations that police. I would just it's very idealistic, but I wish there was one that would protect women, you know, that would come in and extract women from situations that in because police come and they do stuff, but it doesn't really help. You know what I mean? So I wish that I would able to start some type of agency globally that is like underground that is able to come in and actually extract women from certain situations or help them. And then we rehabilitate them and have like a global database of like, you know, how you have like a database of felons, you know, we have one for domestic violence people. So you can look up if you meet somebody and you want to get married to them, you can actually look up and see if they're listed. You know, it could be secret, it could be only women. But I think that if we have some system to track, you know, because most times once an abuser, always an abuser, you know, once I had gotten out of my situation, I went back into the past and talked to his previous relationships. It was the same thing always. But if there was some way I had known or done a background check, I would have found out and known. So I wish there was some kind of tracking system or, you know, some way that we could all as women support each other by saying, hey, I incurred this with this person and please be careful, you know? And so we know that this person has a history of violence. So.
Totally agree. Wow. These points are so important. And when you said it's your dream, every journey starts with a dream. And I hope together we can go somewhere because this is something we could think of as a platform. That's a fantastic idea. And honestly, Ambika, today is the beginning of a journey where I hope we'll be working and doing many projects together in supporting women and hearing them out and coming out with solutions. It's a systematic, like we have to put a change in the system. We have to bring the government, country process and procedures, and hopefully we'll be somewhere. Let's throw it out in the universe. And thank you so much, Ambika.
Thank you for
Thank you
allowing
for
me to
sharing
share
your
this today.
story. Thank you. Thank you. Janet, would you take it from here? Thank you.
Ambika, I was just blown away by your story. So touched. And at the same time, I admire you. What an inspiring story. And, you know, the way you were able to just fight it off and be where you are right now, you know, that is an extraordinary story. And thank you for sharing that with us. And of course, Naila, thank you for bringing Ambika on board. The woman that I am going to introduce next is also quite an extraordinary soul, Nia Khan June. We have the privilege of having her join us today and share with us her story. Nia Khan and I have been friends for just a few months, actually, but the impact that she has made and the inspiration that she has created, you know, with us and with everybody else is just tremendous. And her story that she will be sharing with us today, I'm sure will also, you know, be a magnitude, like the impact would be in such a magnitude of tremendous inspiration, not only to women, but also, you know, to girls around the world who are aspiring to be leaders, such as the ladies we have here today. Nia Khan is the CEO and founder of Timeless Women of Wonder Africa, Timeless Conference, Timeless Foundation, and a few other businesses that are part of an ecosystem that she's creating in Africa, where she puts together collaborations with the highest level of the government, talk about presidents, first ladies, ministers, etc., across the continent of Africa. She, you know, through her platform, she puts all this together, all the players together to really zero in and focus on the issues that are really pressing to are calling for solutions in Africa. Her work transcends, you know, beyond countries. We have like 54 countries in the continent of Africa, I believe, and her work is structured in such a way that she really brings everybody together across industries, private sector, public sector, universities. And the most important thing really that has caught my own commitment to support Nia Khan full-heartedly and give her, you know, all the resources that she needed with the work that she does is that her work with Timeless has a very strong foundation when it comes to creating creating and structuring opportunities for women and youth. So these two very strong segments of our society, and of course, the reason why we're all in this conversations today is what, you know, primarily is Nia Khan's focus with everything that she does. And I'll let her talk more about all this briefly before she shares with us her story. But Nia Khan, I'll let you take it from here. Of course, with the first question of, if you know, just share with us your journey. What has been the darkest moment in your life, and how have you, you know, victoriously emerged from that? And you could continue with, you know, a follow-up question, which is, you know, how would you then inspire others also to use their voices, especially our young girls, our young women, you know, coming out of so much challenges, specifically in the African continent? You know, how would you empower them as well and encourage them and inspire them to use their voices for good and to really, you know, sound off, kind of like become megaphones in making sure that we have that a loud voice, you know, to quash that problem on women, violence against women, etc. So Nia Khan, I leave the quote unquote stage to you.
Thank you so much, Janet, for giving me this great opportunity to actually join some great women from all over the world to really share authentic stories that will make a difference in our environments and in our communities. Thank you so much, Naila, for the work that you do behind the scenes and in front of the scenes, for just getting this conversation going. It's such a privilege and an honor. I've just listened to Ambika, very inspiring story, and thanks for the courage that you have taken to speak about it. You know, our voices are so critical now more than ever. Janet, it's been such a pleasure meeting you. I just call it a divine appointment, you know. The great work that you're doing at a global stage and the alignment that we have in so many of the ideas and vision we have to transform women and youth all over the world and for us in Africa primarily. It's been such an honor to walk that journey. You know, when I think about my darkest moment in life, it's so interesting that when that question pops up before you, it's likely for people to think about one dark, very dark moment, because, you know, we're asked about the darkest moments. And I think for me, I've probably had a couple of very dark moments, very, very dark moments in my life, moments that have pushed me to corners and spaces and places that I never imagined I would get out of. But I want to just share one story about one of my really darkest moments. And that was a time when my life was threatened and I had a medical condition that was potentially terminal. At that time, I was told it was terminal. I say potentially because I lived out of it in my life. But I tell you, being in those moments, a moment you really question your life. And just like many millions of women, especially in Africa, the context is so different, here, because we're a very primarily male-dominated society, very cultural, traditional, patriarchal, and religious, all in combination. So as a little girl growing up, you already come against certain societal expectations, directions. Your life is sort of almost charted out for you. Fortunately for me, even though that's a reality in our environment, my father was a strong champion for girls and women, and encouraged me to be the best that I could ever be. So I had that working for me. And so just like many great young girls growing up, you go to school, you go to university, you get your first job. My dad taught me to dream big and go as far as I wanted to go. And so I dreamt big. I wanted a job that could allow me to travel, cultural exposure, and all the great things we chase. And I thought I was chasing a good life. I was chasing career. I was chasing money. I was chasing world travel. I was chasing the finer things in life. I was chasing money. And in the face of life, really, consciously or unconsciously, we begin to be confined in boxes that are really not important. You're thinking about your titles, you're thinking about the amount of money in your bank account, you're thinking about what you look like, what you're wearing, the kind of watch you wear, the kind of shoes you wear, the kind of bag you wear, the house you live in, the kind of car you drive. And all these are societal pressures that are put at us, either consciously or unconsciously, that start to define our choices and decisions. So when a time reached when I got married and began to have children, we were having our second child. And that's an exciting piece news and everything to me, and just about close to the third month of my pregnancy, I was having some pain and complications, and I couldn't understand what was going on. So rushed to hospital, and they did a couple of checks, and they said, look, you've got a rare condition. 1 in 2 million women, have this kind of condition. It's a third degree of placenta previa, where the placenta is sort of lying outside of the uterus, towards in kind of partly in the cervix, partly in the uterus. And really the challenge of that kind of condition is that the pregnancy is compromised because blood flow, oxygen, food to the fetus is limited and compromised. So you're likely to have a child who's not fully formed and whose faculties are compromised, basically not an okay child. And if they make it at all, they told me that if the pregnancy got to 27 weeks, the baby would have a high chance of leaving than me. For me, whether it was at that 3 month, 4 month, 8 month, 9 month, it didn't matter when I would give birth. The day that the baby would get out of my body, alive or dead, would be the last day of my life, because there was no way of ejecting the placenta out of where it was, other than peeling it off, and the rate of blood loss that would accompany that kind of situation would be potentially life-threatening, because you can't transfuse the body as fast as you're losing the blood. So you basically die. And that was one of the longest and darkest almost 5 months of my life. Because at that time, when they say that when it rains, it pours, it did. Everything fell apart. I'm a very people-oriented person. I'm very sociable, relational. I love people. I connect with people. So, there's lots of people I was engaging in my life from a point of social life, social networks and things like that. My life became quiet, not because I was sick, but people disappeared. Everybody left. My house was a place people would come for parties and lunches on Sundays. Nobody was coming anymore because I was dying. There was no need for Nyakan anymore. And it was a painful time to be thinking about. I lost my job because in the light of my medical diagnosis, it was clear that, she's going to die. Why wait for her? She's going to die, right? So let's quickly replace her high profile job, her high impact job, her mission critical job. We need somebody. I lost my job while I was still fighting for my life. And in that phase, you're thinking about the people around you. People are telling you, Yakan, you need to write your will. And I'm thinking, what? And everything is closing in so fast. Just 1 minute, you are the bubbly, moving around, walking around person who's got a big dream. Things are happening, and suddenly you can't move. You're bedridden. You can't walk. Your bodily functions are things you're just wondering. You can't just move, do things that you normally could do for yourself. You don't know what your life is going to look like tomorrow because you don't know if you'll be alive. The placenta was eroding day by day, so I was bleeding, in the process, and all these things were being compromised. And I began to think about my life. And you can't change your life. You can't do anything about it. You're just limited. And I began now to fight mentally, emotionally, and spiritually for my life. Literally, talking to myself, questioning what my life had been to that point. And I realized that our lives are really facades, really. They're not, there's lots of judgment around what we're choosing to do, what we're doing, whether it's religion, whether it's culture, tradition. There's an expectation of what you should be doing, which in the face of death is really irrelevant. You can't take your clothes with you, you can't take your money with you, you can't. What you're left to think about is, what has my life been to this point? What am I going to leave behind me when I die? And I was so desperate at that time, I began to have conversations with my maker, saying, look, I can't forget, if I came back to you, your mission is aborted because I didn't even know what I was supposed to do in this life, because it's looking like money, titles, and things that are not really, deep and impactful. What was my legacy going to be? And then if I hadn't even found out what I needed to be doing with my life, then it means that then I have also left the earth, an aborted project. So I began to negotiate with my maker and got a higher level to really believe in a higher power, really beyond what medical science, logic, biology was saying to me. Now that's a story for another day, and I lived. And my daughter lived. She's 16 now, brilliant, healthy, going to school, doing great things, multi-talented. I'm really grateful that both of us fought, because she fought inside and I was fighting inside and outside. And I overcame that challenge. But, looking at death in the eye is a time to question the whole meaning for your being. And so before I had this near-death experience, and the days are long and they're so dark. 24 hours looks like 3 months. 1 week looks like 5 years. Counting and ticking those hours is extremely long. You have people who come around you and they're telling you to sign wills and documents, and you have to be looking and asking yourself, am I signing? Am I accepting this? Am I okay to go? And thankfully for me, I chose, with prayer and really going deeper at the deeper level, to really negotiate with my maker and say, look, give me another chance in life. When I leave, I'll find the reason for my being. I'll find a more purposeful reason. And I was questioning myself as a woman, you know, without a job, without income. I had an 18-month-old baby boy, remember, this was our second child, who was looking there. I was thinking about what society was thinking about me. I was looking at our culture, our traditions, the expectations of, you need to do this, you need to do that as a woman. You cannot do this as a woman, because when I then lived, and now I made a decision that because I'm alive now, I must be deliberate with my life. I'm going to pursue a bigger reason for life, which has not going to be about money. It's not going to be about, fulfilling people's expectations, traditional expectations of what a woman should do and be. I should not be getting into, what kind of work I need to be doing or not doing. I said I'm going to go for a deeper reasoning. And when I looked at my 5 months in my bedridden state, I realized that I was living, while chasing all the higher things, I was living at the lowest point of my life, even though it looked good and glamorous, because I was not living an authentic me life. I was not living a deliberate and purposeful life, which means I was shortchanging myself. I wasn't unlocking the potential that I had in myself in its fullest expression. So I said, I'm going to go out, find out what I can do and help millions of women in Africa, because it's one thing enough to not even know what your purpose is and to not be able to unlock your potential. It's harder if you have tradition, religion, culture, and all those things playing at you and even limiting that even further. So I made a decision that I would start an organization that would be unlocking and empowering women and youth to find out who they are and to go against all odds and pursue purpose. because in that pursuit of purpose, you find that, money follows you. The things that we chase, they will come after you. If you're looking for title, impact will make you known. You don't have to go trying to drum and forcing things to get you known. Just pursue authentic, purpose driven decisions and choices, and allow people to dare to be what they feel they are created to be on the inside, and to express it without the limitations of tradition. Sometimes some women are told you cannot be this because, you have to submit. A man should be higher than you because that's what religion says, or that's what culture says. I mean, you are completely limiting that woman. She has every right to be able to pursue her dream, to be able to have the resources available to her, to be able to be cushioned in a safe manner, in a safe environment, to be able to fulfill who she's called to be. And when you talk about, violence, the other thing that I feel a lot happened in our environment, and I have experienced it as well, is cruelty and emotional abuse. Okay, cruelty and emotional abuse, and these things suppress a lot of women, and women are walking as, just dead beings with a lot of potential on the inside waiting to come out. And so when we set up the organization, for me, it was to be able to inspire, to empower and support millions of women to become the best of who they have been created to be, and to begin to have very meaningful, impactful, engagements in their day-to-day lives. Yeah.
You
Yeah. So
are.
Janet, when you look at all the things that we then do, everything is geared towards and empowering these women and actively being a voice for the millions of women who cannot speak, influencing policies for millions of women who will never make it to a decision-making table in Africa. They will never be able to enter and access certain doors, to be able to speak, to be able to influence policies, laws, opportunities that can enable them to actually, change their livelihoods. When I looked at my purpose when I was lying in my bed for 5 months, I realized that I was taking the shorter cut to life, which is chase a good career, get the finer things in life, just those things. Whereas there are millions of people, poor people in Africa, who are waiting for Nyakan to step out of her comfort zone because she's been gifted with strategy, with policy, with a voice that can speak for millions, to be able to shape and unlock doors that can open up millions of women. And so I had to go against that grain, take the bold step to dare to be different, to dare to knock those doors and speak for the voiceless, dare to be able to say, let us shape a policy that can open up a whole sector of construction to millions of women because they can get work in the construction industry. When you look at the economic impact, the economic vulnerability of the women in Africa, over 80% of women in Africa live below $1 a day. Can you begin to imagine their vulnerability, their children, and yet they just need somebody who is bold enough, committed enough, passionate enough about that transformation to be in a room that says, can we change a policy that can be able to influence the wage rate for women? Can we create a policy that can be able to protect women in the construction sector from sexual abuse and gender-based violence and emotional abuse? Open these doors and make sure that they're safe, because some of the women will not go into these sectors because they will be abused. There is this, if women are in the construction, men can be able to tap them. So the women will stay out. They will stay out. Can we create safe spaces to allow women to come in? Can we create strategies and programs that enable women to engage in skills development that help them to move their income from $1 to $3 a day up to $8 to $15 a day? That is significant economic empowerment for the masses, because then when we are skilling these women, hundreds and thousands of them in Africa, to be able to acquire a skill, you're giving her strength that is taking her away from exposure like gender-based violence, HIV, AIDS, early marriages, and things like that. Because now they have a livelihood that can help them put food on the table, can help them to feed their children, can help them to say no to violence, no to emotional abuse, no to defilement of their children, because they're looking for a way out, So these things give me a lot of joy, a a lot of satisfaction. I am living a very purposeful, deliberate life because I had that one dark moment that was so crazy that I fought for my life. And I say that my life has to have more meaning in this next, part of it, and it should be, my life should be used in a way that if my voice, because I can speak, if the strategy that I'm gifted in can shape direction that will open up doors for millions of women, then I'm hitting the bullseye. I'll spend the rest of my life engaging, coordinating. The reason, Janet, you see that the Timeless Network and the Timeless Platform pulls together different resources, different people, different players, governments and all, is because we are playing at the highest point of our strength to be able to open up doors and opportunities for the hundreds of millions of Africans. The decisions we make, the things we put together should and must always open up more opportunities for women and for youth. I also believe that if women are given an opportunity to find out who they are and to be confident that irrespective of what you've gone through in life, there's a better day tomorrow. There's a new reason because you have support. You have a network that will work with you. I'm sure that if Ambika had a place where she could run to, and there are women saying, it's okay, we may not understand what you're going through, but we're here with you. She may have had, just like many millions of women, if I had people who were telling me, I know Nyakan, you've been diagnosed with a condition that's going to, that's likely to for you to exit, but we are believing in you. We're praying with you. We're giving you motivation. You're not telling me to write my will. You're not quickly getting rid of me faster than the sickness itself. I probably would have more strength to move forward, more hope to move forward, because not many people are as strong to fight in the face and in the wake of adversity and dark moments, and they need the network and the support to know that it's possible to keep going on. Yeah. So Janet, it's such a pleasure to be here, honestly, to talk about my story and to just inspire millions and millions of more women to find purpose, to live deliberately, and to step into what it is you're called to do, irrespective of the pushback. My own family, closest people I love, people who love me, pushed back at my purpose. Why would you not sit in a comfortable, six-figure job and just do what you need to do? Why would you be going to fight for the weak people who can't even help your life? People who can't put money in your pocket because they can't even afford it. Why would you want to do that? And they challenged my choices and my decisions, but that was my choice and decision to make, and I moved on with it. And the satisfaction that it has given me and the millions of lives I see changed, allows me to know that when I was in the face of death, fighting death and overcoming that challenge, I had to deal with my maker to make my life more purposeful, as I moved forward.
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Nyakan. That is extraordinary. When you first share your story with me, specifically this darkest moment in your life, it has really moved me to my core. But most importantly, has inspired me so much. How you, again, just like so many other courageous women, like Ambika and everybody else, that how you rose from that darkest moment. And so thank you for sharing, sharing this with us. I know it's a very sensitive, it leaves a lot of us vulnerable when we open up our darkest moments, stories like this in our lives.
Yes.
But that's why we acknowledge the courage in you. We acknowledge that, a victorious spirit in you, just to be able to share this publicly. And again, I honor you. It is a divine, like what you said, it's divine that we met. And I know that we'll be doing a lot of amazing things together with Nyla and everybody else in this panel together, as we all look and do our best and work to just, contribute to squashing stigma and in the lives of women and coming out victoriously. Thank you, Nyakan, for sharing that. It's such an honor.
No, it's a pleasure. It's such a pleasure to walk the journey And when I was asked what 3 things, I'd love to do before I exit the earth, I think Nyla called it the bucket list. I just say, be a voice. I would like to be a voice for millions of women who cannot speak so that they're unlocked, the potential. I'd love to see that in my lifetime.
Wonderful.
And the second thing would be to create a strong movement of change makers who can solve Africa's problems and create change. And the third thing for me would be to give love, to find love, to keep love for myself and millions of people in the world.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Nekan. And with that, we conclude Nekan's session. And I am now, I have the honor and I am happy to hand you over our virtual stage, Manny. Thank you, Nekan.
Thank you, Janet.
Let me begin by saying how moved I was by Ambika and Nekan. You touch recesses of my soul that I didn't even know I had. And I am a man, and sometimes I have to be embarrassed because I am. And that shouldn't have to be. People need to rise above and be able to be that humanitarian self that everyone should strive to be. And I guess that would be on my bucket list. As a singer, I use an original universal musical language to resolve conflict, leading to global peace. Our next distinguished panelist is a singer who is bringing global awareness to a unique sign language that can assist abuse victims to inconspicuously alert others to call for help. Coral Campopiano is a dreamer who, after awakening, launches her dreams into a formidable reality. She is a staunch defender of honesty, integrity, and safeguarding the welfare of others. She discovered through music that she was able to change reality. Music saved her from a very painful childhood. She has been composing songs that purify her soul and replace pain and fear with new insights and self-awareness through original, innovative, transformative melodies. Through the power of music, Coral connected with other souls and helped them not to relapse into the re-experiencing of horrific trauma. She also provides reassurance and comfort. She took her dreams and initiated a global campaign that will make this a better and more benevolent world. For more information about Coral, please look her up and read her extensive bio. Coral, the first question is, describe the darkest moment in your life and how it reshaped your future and who you are today.
Thank you, Manny. First off, I want to thank everyone for being here, from sharing your experiences. It's very motivating since the first lady spoke before, and I've been kind of going back and forth from crying. So I may shed a tear with you guys because it's very touching, everything we're hearing. And Manny, thank you so much for making me part of this. You know, I love you. You're a reference to me. Naila, same thing. Thank you so much. Thank you, all of you that are here. Janet, you know, I just met you, but I'm sure that you are part of this same soul that I'm seeing in Manny and in Naila. So I'm very happy to be here. You know, I was hearing all these stories. I have to say that my darkest moment was my entire childhood, I would say. I mean, it's not that I have like something especially happening to me, something really bad. It's just I grew up in this house with my two parents that are like really nice people, but they got into this war between each other. And we were 4 kids being, you know, in the presence of that constant war that will never end, right? That will leave us, make us, we would feel lonely, we would feel insecure, we would feel every day was a total uncertainty. I didn't know if I was coming back from school, who was going to be at home, if there was going to be any food for us. Not that we didn't have money, it's just like did anyone remember we're coming home? You know, there were times that they were so involved in their own war that they didn't really pay attention to the needs that we had. So I wanted to bring a friend home, and I was thinking about it, like, if I bring a friend and then they start fighting like crazy people, and then I go back to school and my friend tells, crowd parents are fighting like crazy. This is 30 years ago. This is not today that people get divorced and it's just like, okay, we're not really getting along. We go different ways. This is two people like killing each other because divorcing was a hard thing to do. So they try to avoid it because of social things, economic reasons, many reasons that they put them in that place. But we were 4 kids looking at all that. I remember feeling I didn't want to be alive anymore. And I was a very young little soul that was very happy at some points in my day. And I was very sad in another moment. And the feeling were so strong. It was so hard to keep up. And luckily, in that entire war they had, I discovered music, as you said before. I had a guitar and I started playing the guitar. I knew I had a voice because since I was 5-6 years old, my mom would tell me, you can sing, sing for all of us. And people would be so happy when I was singing to my entire family. So I knew I had a voice, and I was singing all the time to peace myself. I could see that when I was singing, I felt so much better. And then I discovered the guitar, and I discovered music very deeply. And I discovered that I can play stuff and I could make up, I could write songs. And that became such a trip for me. And I always think, right, like how education is so important, because I could heal myself through music because I had a guitar close to me, because I had a home that even, in this crazy times that I'm telling you, I could sleep somewhere, I could eat somewhere, and I had, the needs to pick up a guitar and to find my inspiration. I think that lots of childs there are around in the world right now that they are suffering from things, and they don't have the sources to find that little inspiration that can take them out from that sad reality that they are living. I was a sad kid. My face, I see pictures of me and my eyes are like this. I felt so bad that I didn't know what these 2 people were doing. These 2 people were my parents. And I was like, why do they treat each other like this? Why do they have us? Why are they giving us this movie every single day? Why don't they do it on their own, somewhere else when we're not around? It almost seemed like they wanted us to be present so they could have more of a thing, and we were suffering. And I could see it in my siblings too. We all found a thing that took us out from our reality. And for me, it was so important to find music. So the darkest point, I would say, was seeing 2 adults not respecting each other, not taking notice that they had 4 kids and we needed some health to live around. Because let me tell you something, I grew up being insecure. I grew up feeling lonely. I grew up feeling vulnerable. People would tell me how good you sing, how good you do, how good. And I would never believe it because I couldn't believe in myself, because I didn't have a foundation, because I felt lonely my entire childhood. And what a kid needs, I see it with my kids today, the reassurance, being there, having a place, having a plate, having a hug, not showing them the bad sides of life, because they're gonna have time enough to see it. And I could not see it. I have 7 years, since I'm 1 to 7, all I remember is war. All I remember is war. So through music, it changed me. It reshaped me. It made me feel strong. It made me feel like I had a voice. It made me feel a human being. It gave me the personality I needed to have. I was me. I didn't need anybody else. I was me. I had my music. I had my songs. I could see how my songs relate to other people, how people would feel good through my songs. I felt useful for the first time in my life. And that was a great feeling, because I felt happy, I felt useful. I didn't feel like I was bothering anyone. Like in my house, I felt like I was bothering these 2 people that couldn't find each other. I couldn't get to relate to one another. And we were bothering them in their war, right? And they are great people. They didn't know how to do it. But for the first time, I just felt me. I felt a human being on my own, and I felt like people value me. I was someone. So I took that tool everywhere I went. then I left my country. I healed when I left my country. I left my family. I left all the stories behind me. I had to. I couldn't resist it anymore. The pain was so big because it took so much from me to become a person. And once I felt I had it, I didn't want to lose it anymore. I didn't want to be, out of focus, listening to the war. They got divorced finally, and they kept going for many, many years. And I needed to be out of that. And then I went to the States and I made my career, and then I realized how hard it was for a woman. Then started the other war, being a woman out in the world, having dreams, being a teenager, wanting to achieve things, having to prove yourself 1 trillion times because you were a woman. And then I realized how important it was for me to be super strong. Like, I realized that my path just started it, that I had to, again, have all the strength I needed to be a singer-songwriter, to be in this world alone, and to realize that I had to really be good and really good and really good at what I was. And that was what made my strongest and heaviest moment in my life, was to realize that I have to be so strong until my last day, right? Like, we cannot take it easy. We cannot be like, okay, it's done. No, it's never done. It's never done. As a kid that I didn't have a family, right? Like, I have a family, but I didn't have a home. And that, being homeless in my heart, is something that it's every single day I still feel the pain. Because when I have a problem, I want to go back and feel the hug of someone. And I don't have that. I had to learn to hug my own self. I had to learn to feel safe with my own hug. And then I realized that as a woman, I had to be very, very strong. And I felt the need of helping all those women that are like me. There's tons of people that grew up with, other problems that were much bigger than mine, but the feeling of loneliness and the feeling of not having a home, it's the same. So yeah, that was.
Well, thank you, Coral, for sharing the song inside of your heart. It's very beautiful. Please inspire our listeners as to how they too can make a difference in their communities through your experiences.
I think that the most important is to realize what's going on around us, right? Like, when we feel pain, when we feel vulnerable, we have to know that everyone around us might feel the same, and that we cannot go through life looking at it at our own body and our own nose, I would say in Spanish, right? The pain we feel, the fears we have, the vulnerable we are, everyone feels like this. And there's always people that are suffering much more than we are. And there's someone that can always use our help through a song, through a moment, through a hug, through just looking at somebody's eyes and ask if you need any help. When I started feeling like this through my life, I have to say that this past years, things have changed a lot for women, in the sense of, like, we can speak. We have, this that we're doing today, maybe we couldn't do before. The stories we were, Ambika was sharing with us, we couldn't say it like out loud. We will feel awkward with ourselves. We wouldn't feel like strong. And now we feel strong. I would say that in this campaign that I'm doing right now, for the Signal for Help that we're going to talk later, but what I did, I sat down with myself and I said, okay, what do I have that somebody else doesn't have that can help all those people that don't have it? Okay, I'm a singer, I'm well known, I have plenty of famous friends, I have plenty of reference people that could use their voices, and they are gonna be heard more than any other, more than a lot of other people. So I think first thing we have to do is stop thinking just for ourselves. We have to know that this is, we are a world of people that need to be hugged, that need to be loved, that as Nyakan was saying before, I'm very much like that, like, I think that the important things in life are the inside, our hug, our being there for somebody else. It's not the money. We need to live and all that stuff, but we have to go deeper. We have to touch people's souls. We have to go to their inner, beauty. We have to look for that smile that will make you can leave somebody happy for the rest of the day just for, you know, lending a hand. So I think that everyone that has a chance, as I did, if you feel like you have connections, if you feel like you have a voice, if you can call a TV channel, I'm just saying it with my example, but it got to a point where I was like, okay, am I only gonna use my TV possibilities, my newspaper possibilities, my fans possibilities, just for them to listen into my music? And I felt so little. I felt so selfish. You know, I thought of it and I was like, am I only using my resources for my own sake? And while the world is going through all that we're going through, while women are suffering the way I did already. And I started thinking, no, you know, I have to really step up for my own self and share what I have and use all those things. It took me 20 years of a career to put up that, for example, the campaign I did and the video I did and all the people I put in the video. I used 20 years and people that I called and they wouldn't pay attention, and I exposed myself just to get this out. But I think that if you have a little something that somebody else doesn't have, I can help a lot of people, you have to use it. You have to go to sleep at night knowing you did your best to help somebody else than yourself.
Coral, could you explain the life-saving signaling gesture you are promoting to rescue individuals in abusive situations?
Yes. In the pandemic, when the pandemic started, I saw this video coming from Canada of the signal for help, which is this. And it was a sign that they invented it in Canada for when you were in the pandemic and you had your aggressor living with you and you were a victim of domestic violence, you could share your situation with someone you were on a phone call, right? That's we're having right now. So I would be talking to you about the sky, oh yeah, it's beautiful, the sun, blah, 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 blah. And I would do this and you would know that I was going through domestic violence. The first thing I did is calling, as I said before, all my friends. I wrote a song that talks about, you know, the pain and coming out of a painful situation that is called Fosforescente. In English, it's called Ghost. And I put up this song and this video and all my famous friends from Argentina and from South America and lots of singers to sing this song and to do the signal in the entire video. So it got huge. It got huge. From one day to the other, I was in the corner of my room doing this campaign. I put press, and 20 minutes later, I had the press and the TV channels and the newspapers wanting to know more about this. So I took it so seriously because I saw the power of being a referent. I never, as I said before, I never did it for anything else than myself. You know, how little-minded we are, that I had all these sources and I know all these people and I only used it to get my music out. You know, it's so little. So when I saw the response, I started calling everyone. I'm also a lawyer, so I wrote, you know, like projects for the Senate to take this seriously, to make a law out of this. So this could be taken as a signal for help. So when you see the sign, you can help someone and to promote it. I wanted it to be promoted because in my country, every 24 hours, you have one woman is killed, right? Every 24 hours. Kids are disappearing constantly. This is South America. Argentina used to be a different kind of, you know, something outside from South America. This is really South America. This is very, you know, domestic violence is something from every single day. We have people being killed every day, kids disappearing every day, women disappearing every single day. And then you have in the, you know, in the middle of this, you have the abuse, the verbally abuse, the touching in the subway, you know, you have all the other things before you get to the murder, right? And so I have so much presence, so much attention to it that I kept going and it kept growing and growing and growing. And I'm very compromised. Now I have like, you know, like the flag for the gender-based violence. I'm like the singer that speaks about gender-based violence. I know a lot about this. My mom is a gender-based violence lawyer. She's been working on this for 30 years. So she taught me a lot. And I was actually talking to these people in Canada yesterday about the idea of having this as an SOS for our bodies, for all kinds of situations, not only for gender-based violence in a video call in pandemics. We can use it in the street if we're having, you know, a problem, if we want to communicate to someone that we're having a problem. Yes.
Okay, well, let's look at that presentation, Coral.
Yes.
And if we could please see the video presentation. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
que ya no pienses en mí. Sé que fuiste un embustero, impoluto como Dios por la ciudad, un perdedor fosforescente entre la gente. Yo serpiente, encantada, hipnotizada, me dormí. Entregué mi alma al diablo y no lo vi. Oh, ay, ay, oh, vuelve a brillar el sol, quemando el cielo, subiendo el calor. Hoy sale el sol, te puedo ver mejor. Hoy sale el sol, vas a escuchar mi voz. Hoy sale el sol, vas a saber quién soy. Qué locura hay en mi mente, que te sueño y me despierto así feliz. Me sacude, me sorprende, caigo en el lugar de siempre. No quererte y no poder dejarte ir. Oh, vuelve a brillar el sol, quemando el cielo, subiendo el calor. Hoy sale el sol, te puedo ver mejor. Hoy sale el sol, vas a escuchar mi voz. Hoy sale el sol, vas a saber quién soy. Vuelve a brillar el sol, quemando el cielo, subiendo el calor. Hoy sale el sol, te puedo ver mejor. Hoy sale el sol, vas a escuchar mi voz. Hoy sale el sol, vas a saber quién soy.
The United Nations estimates that around 385,000 babies are born each day around the world, 140 million a year. About half of these innocent, defenseless infants will become women, and without the help of concerned humanitarian advocates and trailblazing leaders like Janet Salazar and Nyla Chowdhury, and the brave personal testimonies of Ambika's and Corral's surviving violence and abusive situations, Nia Khan's upward climb from her near-death experience, at least some of these children, as they grow into maturity, might escape abuse if they hear the inspiring stories from the survivors who broke the cycle of violence. Mark Twain once said, 20 years from now, you will be more disappointed by the things you did not do than by the ones you did do. If Mark Twain had lived to meet Janet, Nyla, Ambika, Nia Khan, and Corral, he would not have been quoted today. The accomplished dreams and triumphant achievements of these individuals is happening right now. Thank you to all of you who made this liberating presentation accessible to others and who will now be inspired by your courage and example. We are now moving from near death, from death, to a rebirthing because of all of your efforts. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.